Hi, One Best Beer Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. It's the Friday afternoon before Week 11 in college football. We are talking with Chris Andrews, who's going to give us some thoughts on possible late betting value on these college football lines. Chris Andrews, thanks so much for being back with us once again for college football Week 11. What's the first game you'd like to bring up?
Well, Peter, thanks for having me. The first game I'm going to bring up is Alabama and Mississippi State.
Okay, just jump right in.
Bama had the big win last week, and, what was really impressive, well, listen, they were impressive everywhere, but really that defense, what they did to Leonard Fournette was just unbelievable. And then you hear afterwards, they really didn't do all that much special. They just played their very basic defense. They stayed disciplined. They stayed in their lanes. And everybody executed very well. So hats off to Bama and what they did. The thing is, this week, they're playing a Mississippi State team whose defense is very comparable to Alabama's. Mm-hmm. And first of all, a lot of credit I'm going to give to Dan Mullen. I think the guy has just done an absolutely terrific job as Miss State's head coach. He doesn't get the athletes, certainly, that Bama gets, LSU, even Mississippi. But he's done a terrific job. He's slowly built that program. I think he's in his sixth year there now. And the team is extremely efficient. One thing I like to go by is yards per point. And Bama's is very good. Defensively, I'm talking about. Takes 16 yards to create a point on Bama. Takes over 21 yards to create a point for Mississippi State. Again, a lot of that goes to defense, or to coaching, I mean. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, if you look at the differentials, and that's one thing I always like to look at, Mississippi State has such a superior passing game to Alabama. I think Dak Prescott, kid, is just having a terrific season. He's kind of flown under the radar this year. 18 touchdowns, 1 interception. I think he has 7 rushing touchdowns as well. He's also their leading ball carrier. Really is a lot of a one-man show offensively. But I think it's enough of a one-man show where I think they stay in the game all the way. And if they don't, I think he has enough where he could put an oh, by the way, backdoor touchdown on Alabama. I'm taking the 8 points. I don't expect them to win, but I do think Miss State hangs in tough with Alabama.
I could see it. Mississippi State is 6-2 against spread over their last 8 games. And, yeah, they're not going to run on Alabama. But, if they can pass, they've got that tall, wide receiver. If they can pass on Alabama, which they might be able to do, they might be able to stay within the number. You might have a real sharp play there, Chris Andrews. What's the second game you'd like to bring up with us?
Well, I'm going for Oklahoma against Baylor, and I split my bet. I had to buy up to 3 at $1.20, but then I also played the money line because I kind of don't think the points are going to matter in this game. Totals I think 76 was the last I saw, so a lot of points going to be scored in this one. So of course, when you take the dog, not quite as valuable as if the total's like 37 or something like that. But anyway, I really love the way Oklahoma's been running the ball the last 4 weeks. I don't know what happened early in the season, Peter, but they could not run the ball at all. If you take the first half of the season, they had one good rushing game. That was against Tulsa, who's horrible defensively. So you could almost throw that out. Meanwhile, in the last 4 games, they've really started running the ball exceptionally well. That has really opened up the passing lanes for Mayfield. I think this kid is he's another one. He's kind of flying under the radar for the Heisman. He's completing 70% of his passes, over 10 yards per attempt. So the kid is, and I think in the last 4 games, they're averaging 350 yards a game in the air. So besides the great running game, they have also been throwing it very effectively. You got Jarrett Stidham, who's the freshman quarterback replacing Seth Russell for Baylor. And, the kid has done great. I can't knock him too much. But they haven't covered their last 2 games. I think they may have peaked a little bit earlier in the season. They have not played a very difficult schedule. And I know the kid played, Stidham I'm talking about, he played in the Texas high school championships last year. But playing Oklahoma with a possible national championship on the line, I think is much, much different. And I think you're going to see a team, Oklahoma, who I think is peaking right now, against a team, Baylor, who I think peaked probably a couple of weeks ago. I think Oklahoma is the right play in this one.
Yeah, Oklahoma has 4 massive margin covers since the Texas loss, and it's kind of uncharted waters for Baylor this year. Their lowest spread before this week was -17. Now they're just a 3-point favorite, so a lot of unknowns in this game, and of course sometimes unknowns can be great as far as having betting value hanging there to take advantage of. Chris Andrews liking Oklahoma right now, +3 is a market-wide number. What's the third game you'd like to bring up with us, Chris?
Well, Peter, I'm going with Vanderbilt over Kentucky. I know a little bit of money has showed on Kentucky since it opened Vandy 4. I saw 3. I laid the 3 on Vanderbilt. Now it's been going back and forth between 3 and 3.5. But I really like Vandy in this game. I think Kentucky's had a lot of problems. I think it's going to wind up being a very disappointing season for Kentucky. They are still in the bowl mix. They only have 5 losses, so they can't afford any more. But Vandy also, they have 6 losses. I don't know if they could close out with 3 straight wins. But I do think there's some signs that Vandy's on the right track. And I don't think I could say the same thing with Kentucky. I saw they opened up the quarterback competition this week for Kentucky. I think Vanderbilt, if you look at them, their defense has been playing, some pretty good ball. They did get waxed a couple weeks ago by Houston, but I think Houston is one of those very underrated teams, a little bit off the radar. It was a non-conference game, obviously, for Vanderbilt. I think things kind of got out of hand for Vandy. They had 4 turnovers in that game, too, which certainly didn't help. Yeah. But you look at some of the other scores. They gave up 9 to Florida. They gave up 3 to Missouri. They gave up 19 to South Carolina. They gave up 13 to Middle Tennessee, who's not a very bad team. So they have not played bad defensively. I think right now Vanderbilt has a little bit of an edge. 3 points, not a huge number to lay at home. I think Vandy wins this game. I'm laying the 3.
All right. They were obviously way, way undervalued in their Florida game last week. So if any of that undervaluation is carrying over to this week, maybe they have value again. -3 at home against Kentucky. Chris Andrews, 3 interesting plays for college football week 11. Thanks so much.